Hello and welcome to this second part of 3D Print Basics. In this session, I'm going to talk to you about how to prepare the machine in order to print and the first aspects of that printing process. Right now, I'm using 2-inch painter's tape in order to prepare the print bed. I use this as a strategy because it saves me time and energy when it comes to removing the finalized print from the print bed. I will smooth it out to make sure that I don't have any wrinkles or bubbles, and then I will place it onto the machine. On my campus at this time, I use the thumb drive in order to transfer files from my computer to our machine. Those specific files have been sliced using the Makerbot software so that the G code is provided. I won't go into in-depth analysis, but when you're working with Tinkercad, you're going to export as an STL file. The STL file is going to go into the Makerbot software. The Makerbot software is going to prepare the file so that it functions properly inside of the 3D printer, and it's this G code that needs to be provided to the machine. So all the files that I print from are stored on this thumb drive. In order to tell the machine the task that I want it to perform, I'm going to use the dial right here, and I'm going to use the control panel over here in order to make those specific decisions. For example, sometimes I may want to remove the filament and change out the color, and so that's a decision that I would need to make using this instrument panel. Likewise, if I want to pause a print or start a print or find a specific file that's on the thumb drive, then I would use these tools over here. Print, filament, preheat, settings, extruder, and info. In order to make a selection, I will spin the wheel. After I have located the right element that I want to choose, I will then push down on this wheel in order to make my selection. Right now, let's head to the back of the machine. I'm going to show you how the spool of filament is inserted into the machine. Not all machines function this way. Some machines have the spool of filament located on the far left, the right, or in other areas of the machine. This specific model has a lever that needs to be pushed in order to allow that spool to elevate. Once it's fully elevated into its upright position, it will snap into position so that you can either remove the filament or replace it with new filament. That filament is wound around a spool. It is fed through a thin straw, and then it is placed into the extruder. I recommend that you carefully lower this back region so that it doesn't slam into position. I'm recording this video with my left hand, and then I'm pointing out key characteristics with my right hand. Normally, I recommend that this is a two-hand project, but for the purpose of modeling this, I'm only using one hand. The extruder is connected to the machine with a very powerful magnet and can be simply removed just by tugging firmly. There are times where the extruder must be replaced. At some point in time, it may malfunction or wear out. This is a small cost in order to maintain effective usage for your machine. This is the extruder, and this is the nozzle, and then I'm going to clip it back onto the machine. Here's a close-up angle of what that looks like. This is how it pops off and how it snaps back into place easily. In order for my G-code files to be inserted into the Makerbot, I choose to use a thumb drive. This particular device allows you to send your projects wirelessly. However, on our network, it interferes with our firewalls, and that is not a process I am able to use. However, it is a very splendid feature, and for those of you who have access to that, I think it is quite fantastic. Here I am, maneuvering through the instrument panel where I'm accessing files that I have already stored on my thumb drive. By using the wheel, I can rotate through in order to find exactly the model that I would like. But I have already run these models through slicing software. They are now ready to be printed. So I will use the wheel to rotate through. I will press one time in order to access that print. I will confirm that I want that print by pressing the button down one time. The machine needs to go through a few setup processes, and then it will begin printing. The filament does not always exist at 217 degrees Celsius, so the extruder will carefully bring the temperature of the filament up so that it can easily move through the nozzle. At this stage of the process, the print bed is elevating up to the extruder. Not all 3D printers work this way. Some 3D printers require that the print bed move more aggressively during the print. However, in this Makerbot model, the print bed is stabilized and only scoots down incrementally as needed. The extruder is still warming up. The filament is not yet ready to be printed just yet. Now, the temperature of this particular print has been defined by the file because it was defined by the user in the slicing software. I have sped up this file. The numbers are moving quite quickly. They don't naturally move this quickly, but to save you time, I sped up this video, and now it's ready to print. So here we have the extruder leaving a very thin layer of filament, and that's a very normal process. If there's any dust or debris, or if anything is clogged in there, in order to produce a very fluid, seamless, uninterrupted layer of filament, it's very natural for the extruder to leave this thin test layer. Now, the extruder has moved over to the position on the print bed, which has been defined by the user based on the file through the slicing software. I have chosen this specific region of the print bed in order for this model to run. What's running right now on the print bed is the raft. This is that throwaway layer, that unnecessary layer. It's not a part of the actual model, but it's designed to protect your model so that when it pulls off of the print bed, it just is a nice layer to have. The printer will take probably about 7 to 12 minutes for this particular model in order to build that raft. It creates a larger than needed perimeter, and then it fills in that perimeter. I'm not going to let this run for the next 7 minutes on its own. I'm actually going to speed it up so that you can see what that looks like. Again, this is a thin temporary layer that goes down on the print bed before the actual model begins to print. Once that layer has completed itself, then the actual model will begin printing. And here are a few sample models that I've had an opportunity to print. I did not design these models. These were available for free, and I was able to download these files. Here is a fidget cube. Those boxes will rotate around based on the hinges that were designed in this specific model. The color of the filament was determined by the user. So back when I opened up that back region, the filament color is based on the spool of filament, not by the actual software. And then this model right here is downloaded. I was able to acquire this online. This is not a model that I designed, but these are catapults. By pushing down that spoon and clamping it, then you can deposit something into the spoon and then click or push on the lever, and then it will evacuate or eject that small item that you have put into the basket or the spoon area. And then this last model right here, I'm not done with. I still need to print the wheels. This is a balloon-powered car. And so once those wheels get snapped onto position and a balloon is attached to the top, the force of the evacuating air will force the car forward. So those are my prints for today. And thank you so much for paying attention to part 2. Have a great day.